Uh-oh. What is this? Customize your dashboard. Hi. I don't know, just something popped up. Hello, sisters. Good morning, good afternoon or evening, wherever you happen to be. This is Dawn DelVecchio with Return of the Priestess, and it is Sunday, the 6th of December, 2020. And our theme today is self-love, self-care, and the Ascension process. So we'll wait until a few people come on the line here. Hey, Pat, good morning, sister. Wow. Well, as we move into the last month of this tremendous year, the frequencies continue to increase. The revelations are beginning to the revelations are revealing themselves. We're beginning to gain some perspective. Those of us who've been doing our inner work are beginning to gain some deeper insights and perspective on the bigger picture and the narrative, the overarching circumstances in which we find ourselves. So I'll be touching on some of that today, but with an eye to how we continue to take care of ourselves during these times. So let me say hello to those of you who are coming on, and I'm actually going to look at my big screen here so I don't have to squint. Rosemary, hello. Amy, Judith, Evelina, Inga, Petra, yay. I love these gatherings. Thank you so much for showing up. And for all of you who are not able to come live, thank you for watching this later, either in our private Facebook group or on YouTube or on BitChute. I'm starting to put these on BitChute as well, where it's not censored the way YouTube is. Not that I have a problem with that right now, but just the fact that that's happening. So anyway, Julie, hi, welcome. Yep, she says, amen, self-care, baby. Yep, that's what we're going to look into or feel into a little bit today. So let's get started with a few breaths. Speaking of self-care, to me, the breath is the breath of life, and breathing in and allowing ourselves the pause to fully breathe in the breath of life it's a self-care. It is a key self-care. Without the breath, we cannot continue to operate these mind-body vehicles. So it's pretty interesting, this thing that's happening on the planet, this enforced thing, to force one to, especially if you have to work full-time with it on your face, and of course censorship prevents me from wanting to say what that thing is. But if you're looking at this, you know what I'm talking about. When that happens, if you have to work at a job where that's happening all day, you're breathing in your own carbon monoxide. That is not life. We exhale that and give it to the trees and the greens, who then breathe it in and breathe out oxygen for us. It's a symbiotic relationship with humans and the plant life. So when we block that, we are literally blocking one of the key pieces of our actual ability to care for this mind-body vehicle in which our soul is taking a journey. So just saying. So let's take this moment now to really permit ourselves to receive the breath of life and to allow that breath to be an act of radical self-care. So go ahead, I invite you to close your eyes if that's safe for you to do so. And just begin with a nice deep breath in. Let that breath kind of pull everything that you are not wanting to keep right now up, up, up into your heart space, like you're pooling it all there. And as you exhale, send it out, releasing and letting go. So we're going to do a few breaths today. So again, use the inhale now. Rather than take in the breath of life, you're actually drawing up and pooling together everything that does not serve you. Fear, anger, distraction, distress, stress, worry, whatever. Breathe it in, pulling it all together and exhaling to send it out, to be offered up to the light of the divine for transmutation. We're going to do one more like that. So you're literally clearing your energy field with the breath now, breathing in, bringing all the energies, the frequencies, the thoughts, the fears, the whatever responsibilities that are stressing you out, and exhaling, offering it up like so much foggy material for the goddess to take and transmute into light. Beautiful. Okay, now we're going to ground. Now we've done a little bit of clearing. Now we're going to ground. So now you're going to inhale, breathe in golden light into the heart space. Taking it in and exhaling to let that golden light swirl all over your being. Every cell of your physical body, every part of your light bodies. Breathing in, drawing in the golden light into the heart space, receiving the breath of life fully and completely, expanding your lungs, and exhaling to allow your entire being to be saturated with the love light that comes with the breath of life. And again, a breath in, breathing in, receiving the breath of life into any part of your being that needs it, known and unknown. And exhaling to really allow yourself to settle into this present moment awareness. Beautiful. And now drawing your attention to the base of your spine and the bottoms of your feet, if they're touching the ground or if they're down. Now we're going to draw light down from the crown, breathing in, into the heart space, opening to receive that breath of life, receiving, allowing, exhaling and sending that energy down, down, out the root, out the bottoms of the feet, grounding your energetic connection with Mother Earth. And two more like this, drawing the energy down, breathing in, down from the crown, through the third eye, the throat, into the heart, exhaling down through the solar plexus, sacral, root, sending that grounding cord down into Mother Earth through the root chakra and through your feet if they are on the ground. Feeling that deep connection with Mother Earth. Letting yourself feel powerfully grounded in the body and energetically enlightened in the soul. One more breath in now, drawing energy up from Mother Earth, down from the heavens into the heart space, inhaling into present moment awareness, and exhaling to bless yourself fully and completely with the golden love light of the One. Thank you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I have a few more people I want to say hello to here, or I guess just one. Yukta, welcome. Namaste from India. And namaste to India, to you, dear, from Sedona, Arizona. Okay, so here we go. Self-love, self-care, and the ascension process. Okay, so let me connect in. I have a few notes here. Okay. Okay. So as you all know, we are on a journey of ascension. What is that ascension? Let's touch on that first. For who knows how long, millennia, eons, I don't know. The human walking on earth has been immersed in a frequency that is of what we would call a low vibrational frequency, one that's very much founded or grounded in belief in separation and fear, danger, and very much about focused on just the 3D world. And even though there have been religions and understandings and mystics throughout the ages who have come to share the truth of our divine eternal natures, for the most part, we have been very focused in form. And form is very dense. It's very slow moving, right? We know now from quantum physics that even physical form is mostly space. That if you go deep into the cells, deep into the atoms, it's mostly space. And the electrons revolving around the central, the nucleus, are far, far away. But still, in the 3D realm, we still feel physical form, right? Physical form, it feels very dense. And so making change in this reality is slow at best, even when we are speedy in whatever we do. So that level of density is shifting, and it has to do with our consciousness. It has to do with the evolution of our consciousness. We are beginning to shift from a very dense third dimensional state through the fourth dimension, which is the energetic of love. It's kind of moving through from the 3D physical through the heart space, or the heart chakra, which represents the connection with divine love, into a consciousness that, while still physical, has more connection with the soul, with spirit guides, and a deeper understanding of our oneness beyond the seeming separation in form. So that's the ascension process. It's an ascension of consciousness. We will not necessarily leave this planet or become spirit beings. We do that when we die, when we shed, dying being shedding the physical form and the personal ego that's attached to it. So we will not necessarily leave here, but we will shift in our consciousness. And those of us who are here in this community, and many spiritual communities all around the earth now, we are already doing that. And what is said is that originally we had 12 strands of DNA. This is the junk DNA, because physically the only ones that are online are two, although that's changing. Our other strands are being reactivated, reconnected, and they're crystalline in nature. They're not carbon-based in nature. So that's part of the ascension journey too, that science will eventually begin to see, I suppose. And what that crystalline DNA structure does is it allows us to reconnect to our true divine nature and to our true powers. And so when you think about, like, throughout history, there have been self-realized masters who have superpowers. We could call them superpowers. They can bilocate, they can read minds, they can think about Edgar Cayce, who could just literally sleep on a book and know the whole thing, or go into a sleep trance and tell you exactly what your health problem was and what you needed to do to heal that health problem in natural means. So these are powers that were supposed to be natural for the human, but in our descent after the fall of Atlantis, we descended into a density where those DNA strands got disconnected. So the ascension process, on one level, you could say it's the reconnection of our crystalline DNA, and that manifests as a reconnection to our spiritual capacities, our greater capacities. And many of us are already well on our way on that journey. And if you think about your life when you were young, and the perspectives you may have had then, depending on your age, and the skills and abilities maybe that you had then. Some of us came in with great psychic skills, and then they get shut down, right? And then we have to climb this mountain to reclaim them over time. And think about what's happening for you now. Like, have you noticed that you get maybe downloads, insights, guidance, inklings, and then the external world starts to confirm them for you? That's your intuition coming back online. And there are greater things still we will do. And the way to do that, in part, is just we're taking this ascension journey. We're taking this ascension journey. It's inevitable it will happen. Will it happen in our lifetimes as we are incarnated in this now? Maybe not. Part of it depends on our age. Part of it depends on our level of consciousness. But I feel we will certainly make plenty of headway in this lifetime if we actively engage the process. We have to actively engage the ascension process through the spiritual practices that I teach in things like Priestess Alchemy, through the practice of forgiveness, and through self-care, through deep self-care in these times. So that kind of shifts to the next piece that I want to share. Again, you know how I am. I like to connect in so that I don't get too in my head. I want to come from the heart space. So I've had the great blessing and good fortune of doing many, many astrology readings of late. And you know, I'm an evolutionary astrologer, so I am looking at the soul's evolutionary journey. That is my primary focus. But But of course, when I work with people, it's a counseling session, if you will. So we're unpacking the issues that they're experiencing. And I mean, I've worked with everyone from women in their young 20s who are just starting to awaken to elder men and women in their 70s. And people who are just new to the spiritual path, and people who have been on that spiritual path for years and sometimes decades. And generally, I connect almost entirely with people who are they want to work on their stuff. They want to look at the shadow material that needs to be cleared because they want to be on their soul mission, and they want peace of mind, peace of heart. And so what I get to see is what we call the karmic complexes a lot these days. So of course it's even accelerated my skills as an astrologer, but what it's done more than that, or more valuable to me than that, is to really see the journey we are on as a human family and the way the movements of the planets are impacting each of us uniquely in terms of our ascension journey, and where those stuckish places are, those big boulders in the road on our journey, have to be removed because they're obstructions to our evolutionary growth. And the intensity of all of this is accelerating. And so those who are more spiritually resourced because they've been really working their spiritual tools generally are having an easier time. Now, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden something big doesn't come up in their face. I've seen this a lot, because what's happening is we're digging so deep that we're clearing out stuff from lifetimes. It's like, ooh, I peeled all these layers away over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Oh my gosh, there's more. But we get to the really deep stuff, And this whole clarifying the mind and remembering, bringing together the fractured parts of the soul is like, it's done in layers. It's not done all in one go. So wherever you are on that journey, whether you're just beginning or you're deep down in the depths of ancient stuff, doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're doing the work, because as you do that, you're more able to handle the high frequency waves, interpenetrating waves of light that we are being bombarded with here on Earth. And so those energies are literally stirring up, and I know you've all heard me say this before, stirring up to the surface what needs to be healed or cleared left, what left is needing to be healed or cleared. So what I'm noticing is people are they're going into depressive funks. They're having someone in their life become a real devil for them, a spouse, an ex-spouse, a boss, a colleague who threw them under the bus, etc. They're having inexplicable anxiety or depression, or like a malaise, like, I just am not motivated to do anything, that kind of thing. And these are all signs that something is wanting to come to the surface to be revealed and healed. So for myself, for example, what I'm finding lately, and I still stick with my spiritual practices every day, although admittedly I'm not earthing first thing in the morning anymore because it's too cold, but I do it later in the day, is that I wake up in the middle of the night with inexplicable anxiety. I may have said this last week. I go right into my spiritual practices. I bring in light. I call my guides to come close to me. I breathe into my heart. I ignite and expand the Christed flame, all of that, and it goes away. But I also am praying, show me what that is, because I can feel something is, let me show you with my hand here, something is shaking and stirring and rising and rising and rising to be witnessed in me. So, it's a process. It's a journey. It's part of the ascension. We have to clear this stuff out. And so what's really important, I feel like, at this time is that we double down on our spiritual practices, which I always say, but also double down on our self-care and our self-love. If you're still cracking the whip on yourself to whatever that is, your unreasonably high expectations of what you should be or do or have or all that stuff, I want to invite you to surrender some of that, because it's not serving anybody at this time. It's one thing to say, I am going to double down in my dedication to my spiritual practice. But if we do that in the sense of, I got to do this or else I suck, that kind of thing, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it as a self-care and self-love thing. The recognition that if I commit to my discipline of whatever these things are that are self-care for you, eating healthy. For some people, eating healthy is the challenge, but they know they feel better. Others, it could be the meditation that if I just give myself 15 minutes every day minimum, just to sit, be still, breathe into my heart, and the resistance to that, but doing it anyway. These are self-care practices. And being kind and gentle when you don't do it, which is not a permission slip. It's just saying, yep, I didn't do it today. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to commit myself to being loving enough to myself to do that self-care practice, whatever it is. Like I said, it could be eating a good diet. It could be quitting an addiction that's not, isn't serving you, that's making things worse. It could be getting out in the sun, even if it's cold out, to get that light, to get those codes of activation from the sun are very important. Make sure you keep doing that even through the cold months if you're in the northern hemisphere. So those self-care practices, all of them, giving yourself permission to have a bubble bath, these kind of things, very, very important. Because those who are not doing self-care, those who do not have a dedicated spiritual practice, or I shouldn't say dedicated, but any spiritual practice. In other words, those who don't believe in God, Goddess, I am, those who are very still in the 3D, that the physical world that I see is all that there is and there's nothing sacred. Ascension madness is the path they are going down. Ascension madness. The high frequency energies cannot abide in a being really locked into 3D consciousness, 2-strand DNA, fear, hate, anger, attack, and projection, and violence. Ascension madness. Now, those of us who are doing our work and are still struggling with depression or anger bouts or anxiety from time to time, those are still, maybe you could say, in a spectrum of ascension madness, but they're not really madness. It's just that we're all managing these frequencies. And if you have skills to manage the frequency, then you can keep processing and moving them through and letting them move through your body, through your energy field, through your body-mind complex. But those who are not connected at all, they are locked into the matrix, the illusion of that attack is a form of protection, that winning at all costs, domination, hate, vulnerability, all of those are beliefs in your inherent weakness, and they are a deep disconnect from the divine, eternal, superpower being you are. And so that's where you're going to see ascension madness. And as I always use my example of the jar of dirt, it's like the people who are clogged with unresolved trauma, anger, hate, attack, no belief in God, Goddess. That's a great formula for ascension madness. So it's important for us to understand that we are in this, we have chosen to be in this 3D world right now to experience this magnificent ascension, something that perhaps has never been done on this earth before. I don't know. What I have heard and what makes total sense is many of us who are here right now, who are becoming self-aware and dedicated to our awakening journey, were here when Atlantis fell and the consciousness of humanity went from 5D plummeting into 3D. And we have come to do the healing work and to experience the sort of prodigal son experience of returning home, prodigal daughter. and release the guilt around that, or release the regret or the shame or the fear. So that kind of leads to the next thing, which is that it's possible that you may be going through experiences or periods of doubt that our ascension is possible. Periods of fear that the evil will overrun the land, like, the orcs in Middle Earth, for you Lord of the Ring fans. And that makes sense. It does make sense, because right now when we look out there, depending on where you are in the world, with the increasing controls, the fear porn that's just being pumped out 24/7 on super drive, it's like they're on testosterone or something, like pump it out, pump it out, pump it out. It can get very discouraging. And my feeling is that part of that is we're at a deep soul level, those ancient memories of Atlantis are coming forward and going, oh my God, here comes, the end is nigh. What are we going to do? The evil is taken over and the descent is at hand. And this is where those of us who understand the bigger picture of what's going on, who have self-awareness and a spiritual practice, the priestesses who hold the field of love for our sisters and brothers to ascend, this is where we have to really say, right, it makes sense that I'm being triggered by this right now and feel fear or doubt, or wondering, are we ever going to get out of this? Are we going to be in prison for the rest of our life? What about that new age to come? Is that really going to happen? This is where we have to recognize, oh, this is old Atlantean fear. It's old soul trauma. It's old soul trauma that is asking to be witnessed and released. This is part of this high vibrational frequency that we're receiving, so that it comes to the surface for us to witness, to have compassion for, and to release. Okay. I don't know how long this is going to go on. I really don't. It could be a few months. It could be several years. I think a lot depends on how many of us can hold the high vibrational frequency state, which is why for so long now, this is, I keep kind of bringing in the same message from different angles, which is, in a nutshell, do your inner work, forgive yourself, and allow yourself to receive the frequencies of love light so that you can go into the fifth dimension and then be a beacon for your sisters and brothers who are down there in 3D being bowled over by ascension madness right now. So, a couple more things. On December 21st, 2020, the planet Saturn and Jupiter are the two which are the two social planets that represent society at large, are moving into the sign of Aquarius. For many astrologers, this is seen as the signature of the beginning of the Age of Aquarius. And you've heard me say this probably before too. Actually, the changing of an age it's not a moment. It's like changing colors from green to blue. It's if you were to really widen that out, you'd see it's a spectrum, a subtle spectrum. So the changing of ages could last about 300 years. But there is a significant indicator here. It's very important that these two social society planets are moving into Aquarius. And then in 2023, the planet Pluto, the planet of evolutionary change, the planet that signifies the soul, will also move into Aquarius. So we are well on our way, but we are still in the process of that change. And there's great resistance. Why? Because there's so many people stuck in 3D density who believe the dominant narrative that, fear and attack are important, and it's all just about the physical and all of that stuff. All of the soul fragmentation of most humans who have not done their inner work. So December 21st, 2020 is a key nodal point on the planet, in the cycles of the year, for us to really devote our energy to the love light. And Pretty soon I'll be able to officially announce the sacred cacao ceremony I will be hosting with 2 other priestesses who are cacao priestesses. I am not. I'm just hosting it for my community. But whether you can attend that or not, using that time wisely in sacred prayer, meditation will be helpful for you and for the planet for sure, and your loved ones. And that leads into 2021, which is the year of revelations. And we're going to start to see a lot of the things that have been hidden and secret come to light. And they're going to horrify a lot of people. A lot of the ugly stuff I've learned about, but I wouldn't be surprised if more shocked and surprised me. So we really are preparing as much as we can to hold that flame of love light for ourselves, for our loved ones, and for the earth. So let us prepare in these times. And to that end, one other thing I want to say here is that I have finally put together the co-creative Visions for a New Earth ebook. It's beautiful. And right now, all I have to do is have my assistant set up the whole, like she has to put it somewhere so that people can click to download, like that whole technology piece. That's why it's not quite ready yet, but it will be ready. I thought I didn't know if it would be ready until December 21st, 2020, but it will be ready before that. And I can tell you, having worked on it in the last couple of weeks, has really, really helped me to uplift my own energies, to start to have vision and hope in a way that I hadn't had before. So I'm excited for you to share that. And all of you who contributed will be credited. You are credited. It's already done. It's beautiful. So I can't wait to share that with you. And it's free, of course. And I'm going to ask you to share it with your friends as well, especially those who have a spiritual understanding but don't have a vision for what's possible. And that really is the final sort of piece of the message. And then I'll see what all you are sharing here, if there's any questions or anything, is that it's so important for us to, in addition to going in and like in the muck, doing our inner work and, what needs to be seen, healed and cleared, and, what fear, what anger, what old trauma, all of that stuff is so important. And what's even super important is that we have a vision of what we wish to birth for our new earth. And so to that end, I think you're going to really love the book. I picked a lot of beautiful images too, because it is an ebook. If it get really popular, I'll figure out a way to turn it into a book. It's not very long. It's like 22 pages. It's not. But the visions are beautiful, and so let us hold the vision. There's that old, it's from Proverbs, and I quote it at the end of the book: without vision, the people will perish. So vision, holding a beautiful vision for your future personally, for your dreams, goals, your creative ideas, your creative self-expression, these are really, really part of your self-care journey as well. So I'll kind of tie that in with the self-love, self-care, and the ascension process, that holding a vision or visions of what's possible, even as we go through these rocky times, that's going to be what pulls your heartstrings forward. And that's going to be a big key piece of your own self-care to inspire your greatest vision, your greatest gifts, your soul mission in these times. So with that, keep your eyes peeled. If you're on my email list, you're going to get an email. My goal is to get it up by Wednesday. I'm hoping by Wednesday, but hopefully by the end of the week. It really depends on my assistant's ability to set up all the bits. But it's coming soon. And I'll also, for those of you who are not on my email list, I am going to post the link here in the Facebook group as well. And I'll post it also probably connected on a link with my YouTube. For those of you who watch me on YouTube, best to get on my list, but if you don't want to do that, that's cool. Just I'll find a way to get that, connected with all my different places where I show up. Okay, so let's see if there's any comments or questions. Again, it's easier for me just to go here to my big screen. Laura, yes, you haven't been around in a while. Sister, it's good to have you here. Yay, welcome back. Kimberly, welcome. Kimberly says, on that third clearing breath, boy, did I cough something out. Oh, wow. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Julie said, clear it out, she replies. Sharon, good morning. Good to have you here, dear. Good morning. Yukta says, can we please ask for some timeline question? If the war has already been won by the light in the other realms, then when do we see this in earthly life? And if we are still navigating in the collective energy, is not enough, or maybe you meant, is it not enough, then when are we expecting the economic reset and food crisis? Okay, so these are really important questions. So let me, thank you, Yukta, for asking these questions. So let me connect in here and tell you kind of what I am getting from the field, from my own guidance, as well as from some of the top channelers and guides that I'm listening to, as well as just keeping a pulse on the sort of political unfoldments of this earth. Okay, so if the war has already been won by the light in other realms, then when do we see it on earth? This is a great question. So remember, the earth is very dense. So we don't have instant manifestation. And given how messed up our minds have been for so long, that's generally a good thing. Because until we manage our minds and really remove many of the obstructions to love's presence, manifestation is miscreation, right? So if we look at things, if we were to rise up beyond the 3D form and be in the all time is now, all space is here, we can see that the light wins. But down on earth, we are still bringing that, having to work through all of the density, all of the stuff to bring that about. So the question is when? I can't say exactly, but here's my sense about it. We've got between 6 months, we've got several months of increasing chaos, and that could be 6 months, it could be a year. And then we've got a few years where the systems, as they were, the unloving systems seem to be really collapsing. And that will create more chaos for people who are still not kind of on the bus of ascension in their consciousness. They're in resistance or whatever. They're holding such vibrations of such hate and fear that they're really stuckish. At the material level, at the soul level, we're all still one in the mind of the Creator. So several months to a couple of years of rocky road, followed by the systems collapse, where it will still be difficult for some, but those of us who have been preparing will be in a place where we'll be more self-sufficient and more able to handle things. And by 2030, we're going to see a new earth. So let me break that down a little bit further. It could be 6 or 7 months of real chaos and confusion, fear. Well, I don't want to say chaos and confusion. What I want to say is control. Control. Fake fear. There's a virus that's going to kill you. You have to cover your face. You are a danger to those you love. You must stay isolated and away. And the intent to collapse the economic systems of the planet. Although not all people will be collapsed, but in terms of their jobs, like I still work. I still work because I have a 5D business and because I also write online. So, and there are those, school teachers. There are people who are still going to work, right? We know this, essential workers. And then there's going to be a couple of years of where it's better, but things aren't what they used to be. And this is the window of time where it's really a good idea for you to start to make your plan for getting off the drip feed of big government. So, for example, my husband and I are buying land in another state that is in the forest with a well, and we're going to take the small home and put it off grid. We're going to use solar and wind to provide our electric. We're going to grow gardens. And we feel like we have about a window of 2 years to really establish ourselves. And to be in a small community, a small rural community who are more self-sustainable and more sufficient. It's not like a community per se, like a commune. It's just the people are more aligned with the earth. So, and then I think we're going to see some big changes for a few years, followed by as those bigger systems really collapse, whether it's the banking or the governments or the medical or whatever. Now, in the process of all of this, there could be chaos because the people, again, if you think about the people, they're not on an ascension journey. They're not aware yet. I mean, maybe we're all on an ascension journey. I think we are. If we're here on the earth, we're on the ascension journey, but they're not aware of it at all. They're still thinking, all we need are the VAX. And once we get that injection, life will go back to normal. They're in a belief system that things are going to go back. No, they're not. And as that changes, they're going to struggle more. So I guess I'm rambling it too much. So let me wrap it up. What I see, we got about 7 months of control, intense control, followed by something that shifts it, the revelations of the shenanigans, probably, followed by a couple of years of gradual changes, but not too intense, followed perhaps by a more accelerated collapse of systems. And by 2030, really the reflowering really beginning, because we'll be living in different ways. I hope that helps. That's the best I can guess right now. So let's see economic. Oh, when are we expecting the economic reset and food crises? I would prepare for a food crises ASAP, as soon as possible, because I have a feeling that one of the shenanigans that the controllers are going to try is to cut the food lines under the excuse of the pathogen that's so deadly that 99.9567% survive it. Sarcasm there. So I would prepare for that immediately. Get yourself food, extra food, get yourself extra water, and get yourself out of a city if you can, sister. The economic reset. There's two things going on here. One is a narrative that's being pumped out a lot right now, the Great Reset, that is an agenda to lock us into much greater controls. It's not going to work. It might work for some. It's not going to work. You got to understand that everything that they pump out on the media, they're saying one thing that's supposed to look really good, like a new Green Deal, that has nothing to do with a benefit to you at all. But they say that because it's all Orwellian doublespeak. If you've not read 1984, George Orwell's 1984, I encourage you strongly to read it, as frightening as it is, because it's happening. But there's another reset, which is this whole shift. This is the rise of the fifth dimensional awareness that wants to bring a new system of economies. And that is going to take the old system to crumble. So when that is, I don't know. I think what I feel is that they're kind of happening simultaneously. Like we could say the bad guys are trying to implement their system of control under the guise of these supposedly beneficial names. But they're going to start to be taken down. So they're going to try even harder. But underneath, hidden behind the surface, are systems that are coming, that are going to rise up as these crumble. So it's very important that we use our discernment. How do we know? That's the spiritual work. That's the re-engaging the crystalline DNA so that our intuitive and our psychic abilities come back online, so we know who to trust and who not to trust, so that we can feel the bad guy's energy. We can just feel the frequency and go, they're talking one thing, but I feel the untruth of it. Now in 2021, I think a lot of the revelations, they're already happening. A lot of that we're going to start to see the shenanigans, and that's going to help. But as long as the media is in control, and that's a key, As long as the mainstream media and social media is controlling the narrative and censoring all kinds of truth, those who are not doing research outside of that can't, that's all they're being told, that's all they can see. So that's up to us to also choose to initiate our own research so that we understand for ourselves. That is a personal decision to uncover the truth. So I'm sorry I can't say more, but in terms of like food and economy, I would strongly, strongly encourage you to begin to invest in tangible assets. So for example, if you have a lot of money in the bank, if you've been working a long time and you've been saving your money and you've got, you know, a good nest egg or it's in investments and stuff, perhaps it's time to start considering investing in a piece of land, gold, silver, tangible assets that will support you when those economies are no longer here. Start doing that now. Don't wait. That's why my husband and I are buying land, not because we have a ton of money, but because of what we do have. I feel we're better off, unlike our parents' generation who said, you know, save that money in a bank and in investments and sit on it and sit on it and sit on it and sit on it as it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and then, you know, retire rich. We don't have that window of time anymore. I'm like, what are we going to do with what we do, the assets we do have? Let's ensure that we have what we need and we're not dependent on a system anymore. That's our choice. I encourage you to do your research so that you can make your choice. So I hope it was a long-winded answer. I hope it's helpful. I hope it didn't get too rambly. Okay. Jennifer says 11:11 here. Blessings, Jennifer. Welcome. Julie says great explanation and so amazing, Dawn. This is it not talk heady, just laying it out. Oh, it's not heady talk, just laying it out. Thank you. Evelina says yes, a lot of clearing and shadow work, lineages. Oops, back working with the violet fire to transmute. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Evelina. I've been working with the violet flame also lately. When I clear my chakras and I get to the crown chakra, I call in the violet flame, and the peace that descends upon me is tremendous. And that flame, that violet flame transmutes. So as these things come up, that would be a good thing to do a talk on, is like how to, I'm going to write it down, how to transmute. Of course, you know, Priestess Alchemy, I teach some of that stuff, but the violet flame is an excellent one. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Violet flame of Saint Germain. Inga says, did you know that the light of a candle has no shadow? Only the form has a shadow. Interesting. I did not, Inga. Thank you. I'm going to have to check that out now. Kat. Hey, Kat. Welcome. Good to have you here, sister. Double down on self-care and self-love. Don't should all over yourself. Beautiful. Thank you. Good reminder. Julie says codes of light. And Judy, good to have you here, sister. She says, good morning. I so agree with you, Dawn. Surrendering is the best way, and let it go, and seeing it through will give you more peace, and seeing it from other perspectives also helps to see the beauty of the actions of the shadow. Yes. Well said. Thank you, Judy. Beth got holy chills. Welcome, Beth. Welcome. Sharon, been doing a lot of meditation and listening to solfeggio frequencies, gratitude practices. Yes, solfeggio frequencies or other binaural beats to help your brain get into a out of the beta brain wave state into meditative state. Super helpful. And gratitude, of course, is always good medicine. Always, always good medicine. And chakra clearing. Jennifer again says, excellent explanation, Dawn. I'm feeling highs and lows right now, moments of intense negative thoughts and back to positive vibes when I do the self-work. I agree that it feels like stuff is coming up to be released. Yeah, and some of it, you know, sometimes we may never even know what it is, quite honestly, because it could be soul loss or soul trauma that we're just healing. It could be the energetic. Sometimes I feel like I'm actually feeling the vibe of the collective. And I'm just transmuting it for the collective. And so we don't always have to know. Not everything that's shuffling up to the surface is our personal stuff, but a lot of it is. And when we dull ourselves or numb ourselves or self-medicate through whatever means, whether it's food or TV or, goddess, please don't use TV, Netflix binging or drugs, alcohol, all that stuff, we don't allow the transmutation. We don't allow the clearing to happen, or we have to work harder when we are sober or in that good state to do that. Judy says, not just forgiveness of ourselves, but of others. Indeed. Yeah, it's always both, right? Sometimes more one, sometimes the other, but we don't want to neglect one over the other. Evelina says, can relate to that. It's a lot to be released for oneself and for the collective for our highest good. Judith says, thank you. Hey, Judith. Hi. Thank you for the information about Atlantis and old soul trauma. It really resonates with me. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've known about Atlantis for years, but only recently has it really strongly been coming into my field, as this is a part of the work we're doing right now. This really is. I mean, I kind of knew it, but it's like energetically, I'm feeling it now. It's like present in my field, whereas before it was just information. So yeah, maybe that's where we're at right now. Because remember, sisters and brothers who may watch this later, we are on the leading edge. We are literally like the front line spiritual warriors, fiercely, lovingly clearing the field for the collective. Please honor yourself as such with self-care, patience, love, forgiveness, gratitude, etc., etc. Okay, Yukta says, is there still room for any contribution to the vision book? Oh, I'm sorry, sister. I'm done. We're done. We're done now. I don't have bandwidth to continue working on it because I had an assistant and now I don't anymore. And so I'm working in my business, on my business, and all of the other stuff. That's why I'm not a lot on Facebook. It's just so many things that I'm juggling right now. So that's complete. But feel free to share those visions here in the group. And who knows, maybe there will be a stronger iteration next year after I deliver this as it is now. I'm excited about the vision book too, Judith, definitely. Kimberly says, I was just beginning to follow you when you put out that call. I read it and loved it, and you made me make the shift from trying to convince others to moving toward my vision for the future. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't contribute physically, but in my heart and journal, I'm one with you all. Great. So again, Kimberly's referring to the New Earth Vision book, or Visioning the New Earth is what I've titled it. And yeah, we got to stop trying to convince others. It's not going to work. They're choosing their timeline right now. And I've heard it said that December 21st, 2020 is the kind of, you're on the bus or you're off the bus of ascension. I believe we are all ascending. However, the way that experience is going to happen, or the incarnational journey that we're going to have moving forward after this lifetime, may be determined based on our decisions now. It's not our job to convince anyone else. We are all the children of the One, and we are all still really just having a dream in the mind of God, Goddess. And our incarnational journeys, I feel, will be different. And those of us who are prepared to really consciously live in an ascended future are going to have a different kind of experience. So the best thing we can do, the best blessing we can offer all of our sisters and brothers, is to forgive ourselves, forgive the world, and to hold that field of love. They will come to their own ascension in a conscious way or an evolutionary way at a soul level when they're ready. Visioning the New Earth is going to help us to feel in the peaceful energy necessary to hold that frequency with greater grace and ease. Jennifer says, I felt Atlantis trauma and fears during the Obama years. Now they have subsided. Oh, that's fascinating, Jennifer. I have never heard anyone saying that before. Very interesting. I'd love to hear more about that. Rosemary says, I'm reclaiming, looking, moving the obstructions. I see this as a blessing and a healing. Yes, this moves me further into lightness of spirit. The world of illusions is powerful, deep, and driven. Oh, yes. The opposite to all, such as in fear, love, sin, forgiveness, that shows me that I have the same power in me to move through this as an eternal being God created that I am. This is a reminder that I am so thankful for you, Dawn. Oh, thank you, Rosemary, and beautifully said. I want to repeat that. I am reclaiming, looking, moving the obstructions. I see this as a blessing and a healing. This moves me further into lightness of spirit. The world of illusion is powerful, deep, and driven. Yes, beautifully said. Let's just breathe that in. Let's breathe in that recognition. It's a blessing to do our inner work, to heal and clarify our minds of the obstructions to love's presence. This world of illusion is powerful, but we are far more powerful still. Thank you, Rosemary. Okay, so just a few other, there's just some quick comments. And then Gina says, old soul trauma and maybe some of that witch wound too. Yep, which would explain the resistance to remember. Yes, indeed, Gina. Yes, indeed. And welcome. Hi. I don't think I said hello to you earlier. Yukta says, lovely to hear my exact thoughts echoed back. Big hug. Great. Kat says, my 19-year-old son was just talking about living off the grid yesterday. Oh, good for him. Indeed. I've been talking with my 30-plus-year-old son about his, encouraging him to more energetically look at that. It's been in their field for a while, but to actually maybe put a little more serious energy into it. Polanco, I don't remember seeing you here before. Welcome, sister. Good to have you here. Welcome, welcome. She says, I have been thinking about moving off grid for a while, not sure in what direction to move. Yeah, so I'll speak into that a little, and then I want to wrap up because we've been at this almost an hour. Wow, these are going so, it's amazing. I cannot even believe an hour has passed. Judy says, thank you. And thank you to all the sisters who've responded as well. So moving off grid, I'll touch into this quickly. And maybe if you're interested in receiving, in having me talk about that, let me know, write in the comments. Please do a talk on moving off grid. But I'm going to just put it here too. So I want to just say, here's how it worked for me. I started looking. I had to look for a while. I spent most of the summer, not every day, but I spent the summer looking for land. Starting in the spring, I started really being back on the earth a lot, going to the forest once a week. As you know, I had my Sunday church in the forest, and really connecting with Mama Gaia and really asking her to guide me to the land. So I would connect with the trees, which are a collective energy, and just energetically connect with them, and then ask, not every tree I connected with every time, but like, Mother Earth, guide me to the land that I am meant to steward and be connected with. And then I had a process of, researching and walking on lots of different lands and different places, looking also at my astrolocation places, and eventually found the place. And it was so clear when I found it. It was absolutely unquestionable. And then I had to, look for the way to actually purchase it, which was its own. There were some hurdles. And at first I got discouraged. And then a lot of support came in different ways, like my accountant and girlfriends and priestess friends, that showed me that divine guidance through them was saying, don't give up. This is your land. This actually is your land. And so it shall be very soon. So Kimberly says she'd love to talk about moving off grid. Okay, great. So if anyone else wants that, just continue to add your comments here, and I will put that on the list of things to talk about. And now that we have been here for an hour, I want to move on with my day, and I want to offer each of you much love and bright blessings, whether you're here with me now or you watch this later, wherever it is that you show up for this communion. Remember that you are love. You are loved without condition. You are held always in the arms of the divine. This is but a dream. We are dreaming in the mind of the one. And yet, we are experiencing a profound journey of ascension. And so let us hold fast to the love of the one. Let us hold fast to each other. Let us lift as we rise. And let us remember our true power as divine creator beings. Have a blessed week, sisters. Keep your eyes open for the link to download your free copy of Visioning Our New Earth. Take good care of yourself. Remember that this is a challenging time for us living in these 3D forms, and yet we are ascending to something magnificent. I love you dearly. I thank you for your presence on this earth at this time. And I thank you for being in this community and for all the work you do to hold the light for those in your life who need it most. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Many blessings, sisters. Have a blessed week. Mwah. Bye for now.